All right, YouTube. This is Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit. Now, I've been waiting for the witches of the View for them to weigh in on the conviction of Donald Trump. And I decided that when they did their thing, I was going to report on it because I want to show you something about these people on the left. Now, we already know that the View are Democratic surrogates. They told the Democratic line they're pro Biden. We already know they're pro Hollywood. They pro transgender your children, LGBT, open borders. They for everything that destroys this country. They want the demise of the republic. They are actually ran by the globalists, and they want the undermining of the nuclear family, the demise of communities. They basic total the Democratic line. But there's another sinister thing about them that I don't think you pay attention to. In this country, we've seen a lot of extremists write manifestos and then strike, target, soft targets, civilians, innocent people. And it's sad and it's tragic, but it keeps happening. Every now and then, some nut goes off the reservation, targets a market like they did in Buffalo, target a church like they did in Carolinas. And we see this, and it's shocking to the consciousness of the people because innocent people are hurt. But we know this to be the case. Now, no matter what side of the aisle you on with the Republicans and the Democrats, we can agree that we know the history of this country with extremism. We know the history of this country with violence. We know the history of this country with civil unrest. We know these things. So, what would make a person who knows these things with a large platform come out and make fun and mockery of a situation so shocking as the Trump conviction? Is it that they don't know the seriousness of the state of affairs in this country? They don't know how divided this country is. They don't know how violent this country is. They don't know those things. I think they know. And I think they don't care. Because you know what they do? They hire more security. See, these witches of the view, they know they've been hounding Trump for the last couple of years, calling his followers or supporters idiots and every other kind of name in the book. But yet they finna come out and mock the situation. But they know somewhere out there, there's some nut in a garage, in the basement, in his mother house, pen and pad, writing a manifesto, looking for a soft target to express his outrage, his discontent, or even his mental illness. They know these things. We know these things to be true. So we know it's not funny. Sometimes you need to just remain silent or take another approach to things, because while they claim to be supportive of women rights, and feminism, they have allowed the Democratic Party to make Black women the face of civil unrest. They raising up Letitia James and Fannie Willis and all the ones that took part in this lawfare. And it's funny now to them, to where to me, I have daughters, I have granddaughters, my mother is still around, and I see potential danger, potential threat, because I know there's a large segment of this country outraged. Some of them will handle this analytically, some of them will handle it legally, some of them will handle it philosophically, but there's those others that we know, that we turn on the news and we see just go off. You know, even after Buffalo, what happened in Buffalo to those Black women at that market, Joe Biden still never gave you a bill, a hate crime bill. Now, down in Georgia, when it happened to those Asian women at that salon, he gave the Asians a hate crime bill, but he didn't do it for Black women, although he uses Black women as the face and guard attack dogs for his political opponents. So I'm going to not go too much off into my commentary. I want you to see how happy they are, while a whole nother segment of the country is aghast, shocked, and outraged. I want you to see their approach and what they consider democracy in the face of lawfare and the shredding of the Constitution. Let's watch these ladies who have this democratic show. Now, this is for fair usage under the 1976 Copyright Act. It's for commentary, educational purposes, and First Amendment rights with the freedom of the press. Let's check out these ladies of the View, these witches of the View. That's what they're called. Check them out.
Do not adjust your TV set. Yes, I'm here on a Friday because this is a very unique moment in history. That's why we're all at the table. So I'm going to say something you've never, ever heard me say before, but Donald John Trump. Don't tell me. Is a convicted felon. Yesterday at New York jury.
Now, we're going to keep it real. This is the mockery. This is the clapping. This is the applauding. But in the back of our minds, we know that this is going to have consequences. We know it. We've seen it too many times. We hope no nut goes off. We hope we don't see any extremism. But let's look at the mockery of these protected women.
Found him guilty on all 34 counts of falsifying business records in order to hide a sex scandal that would hurt his 2016 presidential campaign, and that's what the problem was. That's why he was in court, because he did that. He did that. And then, of course, he played the victim outside of the courtroom. Take a look.
This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent. We will fight for our Constitution. This is long from over. Thank you very much.
You'd have to read it first. Again, I'm just going to repeat. He was in that courtroom because of what he did.
Right, yeah.
And those jurors were chosen by both sides.
Yes, they were.
Right. He was convicted here in New York because New York brought him to trial. This was not a Biden thing. This was, had he just paid the money, he'd have been fine. If he had.
Whoopi is clearly lying and don't even know what she's talking about. Trump asked for a change of venue. What he's accused of didn't even happen in New York. She doesn't even know, and she can't tell you what he's actually convicted of. This is a poor attempt at not showing how happy they are that the Lawfare won, and trying to really show the contempt they have for the conservatives, and in the viewers' face and their followers, they're promoting a division in this country that you haven't seen in a couple 100 years. But you got to ask yourself, like I keep saying, is everybody going to take this funny? Is everybody going to take this lying down? Doesn't this seem kind of dangerous? I mean, is it just me who've watched for years these nuts and extremists go off and write manifestos and target soft spots, soft targets, like churches and markets? But these women who have security 24/7, because they know the danger of their politic, they lead you down the road and leave you vulnerable to the misdirected anger of the people that they're offending. And the clap and the laugh, I just don't get it. I think it's reckless. I think it's deliberate. I think it's uncaring. I think it's a slap in the face to these very women, because after what happened in Buffalo with the 8 black women there that was targeted in that grocery store, they still never gave you a hate crime bill. And they still put you out front as if you do not see the very things that you see. Let's continue to watch them make mockery. It's all fun and games right now. I know it is. It's sad.
Sneak some checks and stuff around. You'd have been fine, but he didn't do that. Instead, he was cheap. And that's what you get.
So he got. Well, can I say one thing?
Yeah. What was your reaction?
Well, my reaction was I was at Costco buying, 10 boxes of Keurig coffee, and my watch started to buzz, and I got so excited I started leaking a little bit. Well, wait. This is what I have.
So you're the leaker?
I'm the leaker. But wait, this is what I want to say about seriously. Because they're going to say it's rigged. This is rigged. That's rigged. Brian's rigged. We're rigged. Everything's rigged, according to him. But, you know, there was a jury of 12. Yes. They all, to a person, said he was guilty on all 34 counts. One of the jurors, juror number 2, I was reading, he only watched or read Truth Social. I saw that. He did not watch Fox. He did not watch CNN. He did not watch us. Now, if a person who only gets his news from Donald Trump's, what do you call it?
Social media.
Social media, and he even thinks he's guilty. Excuse me, Donald, it's not rigged, okay?
Yeah.
It's not rigged. Okay, that was
so. What was y'all's reaction?
Listen, it was the outcome I expected, yet I was still somehow shocked watching Jake Tapper read count after count all 34 charges. And my first thought, honestly, was I feared for the safety of the judge and the jury, and I hoped that they had security. We live in a moment of political, violent rhetoric that I think is very dangerous. But knowing Donald Trump personally, there's something in him that thinks he's untouchable and will get away with everything. And even though this was the likely outcome, I don't think he thought it was going to come. I think, by the way, that's why he lied about the election. He can't believe that he lost the election. And my one caution is he does have an appeals process ahead. The election's in 5 months. There's a world in which he could get away with this. If he becomes president before this is fully adjudicated, and running for president to stay out of jail is a hell of a motivator. He's going to do and say absolutely anything that he can to get elected. So buckle up, because it's rage and retribution ahead.
But can I correct one thing? I don't think he believes he won. I think he says he won.
He didn't at first, at least. He admitted that
he knows he lost.
Well, I was speaking at the Ford Foundation at an event about polarization, out of all things, and my phone starts, coming up with all of these Karens, and I really felt and still feel like I'm in a surrealist Fellini movie. Is this really happening? And I was schizophrenic, because part of me was like, yay! And part of me was like, you know what? This is really serious. Yay! This is really serious. Now, this is a man, yay! This is a man who made my life a living hell for 4 years, has made the life of our country a living hell for 6 years. And so he deserves to be accountable. He has been Teflon Don his entire life. He has been getting away with cheating and lying and doing things.
I'm going to interject for a minute. If you read between the lines, there's a lot of jealousy, envy. They despise him. But they despise him enough to overlook the lawfare and the travesty of justice and the undermining of the judicial system and the political apparatus, and to undermine the people's confidence in government. They are so emotionally attached to how they feel about this man that be damned the country, be damned any type of backlash that dispenses and spills over to innocent people who don't even play politics. That's what I wanted you to see. And I want you to be careful. You have to be careful, because there are people who are just as angry out there as they are happy.
And criminal acts for all this time. You know who's grabbed him back? E. Jean Carroll, Letitia James, and Stormy Daniels.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stormy Daniels, because this has got to have been very, very hard. I also think it's a very somber day. I think it's a very serious, somber day. I can't believe where we are in our democracy, where the presumptive Republican nominee, the party of rule of law, the party of law and order, the party of family values, is nominating a guy who just got convicted 34 counts for paying Stormy Daniels hush money. Talk to me about law and order again and family values, folks. Go ahead, lecture me.
Building off what you were saying, I was driving home from dropping one of my kids, and I saw my phone. It popped up on my phone, and it was like guilty. And I remember feeling like something punched me in my chest, and it wasn't because this isn't a binary reaction. It's not because I'm sad or happy. It was so somber and sober to get that news, because we're living in a country where we have a former president convicted who's also running for office. And it also reminded me of, I was scared because I thought of how like kind of violent things have been happening politically and otherwise. People are dangerous with their speech. There's a lot of stuff going on. The country is divided. Not everyone sees this ruling the same way. But as a parent, over the weekend, my son was asking a bunch about, we don't have the news on, but my parents do. And we were visiting them, and he kept saying, who is that? And I was like, that's the president. Remember President Biden? Something came up about Trump. I was like, that's the former president, Donald Trump. Which one do you like? Well, I'm trying to be open and honest and teach him how to have his own opinions and things. And as I'm sitting there and thinking, thank God he asked me on Saturday or Sunday, because to sit here as a parent or a teacher or an auntie or any other leader in this and try to explain to your child that someone who could not vote in this country because they are a convict could run and rule the country. He understands criminal. He understands jail. He understands policemen. If you say this man is doing this and then try to explain how it's possible, more questions are coming, and I don't know if I'm ready for them, but it's scary.
Did he say Trump or not?
He said, no, I said Donald Trump, and he was asking, who would you want to vote for? And I said, I said before I answered.
You asked him.
No, I was trying to teach him that you need to read in on your own. You need to learn about politicians. You need to decide. So I was trying to be fair, and now on a day like today, you're sitting there, and how do you explain that?
Where were you? I was at my daughter's high school graduation. Thank you very much. I didn't feel somber. I felt like the Knicks won the tournament. I felt like America won.
Now, you know, if you know anything about these ladies, you had to wait on her because she is the chief race baiter, you know, and come to find out that her family actually owned slaves. You know, have you ever seen that? A race baiter whose family was slave owners? But that's neither here nor there. What I want you to see is they have no concern for their viewership. Because no matter how much I stress to you, and they even said it, you laughing, but there are other people angry, very angry. And I don't want to see when something happens because of this, people act like they couldn't have foreseen the possibilities of mocking what happens to other people. It reminds me, and this is a little off kilter, but it reminds me of the story of when Elijah Muhammad told Malcolm X not to mention what had happened to John F. Kennedy because people loved him all over the country. And to say something off cuff at this particular moment could put others in jeopardy. And it was wise. It was wise that he would tell him, I know you like to talk and I know you like to be in front of the camera, but now is not the time to poke fun at somebody else's tragedy, because then you jeopardize other people. And that's just what I don't know if you can get the parallel, but that's what it seems like to me. That's that the people that run that show should want them to think like that. But these Democrats are very
I felt like
tricky.
New York won. I felt like the Manhattan DA's office won. I felt like I won. For me, I think that this jury took 9 hours to come back, which some people think that's a really long time. It actually is not, because he was facing 34 counts. And to your point, Whoopi, this was an easy case, because this was a case about trying to win an election by hiding an affair. When I was in the courtroom,
We heard time and time again from people like even Hope Hicks, who said this was a campaign in crisis. He was so concerned after that Access Hollywood tape came out that.
I'm going to ask y'all something else. Because if you study media, do you really think that it's a coincidence that they saved Sonny Hostin for last? Do you really think that Whoopi started it with her typical and stereotypical black woman mammy act? And then Sonny finishes with her angry, vindictive, stereotypical and typical black woman act. Do you really think that the political landscape with Bragg, Letitia James, Fannie Willis, Mayor Adams, do you really think that they have put the best of Black America in position to judge and lead wisely? Or did they put the worst of us and the most easy bribe, bought, and paid for of us in front of us to misdirect our mental energy, our spiritual energy, and our emotional energy? What you're watching is a form of witchcraft. That's why we call them the witches of the view.
He would lose women and that he would lose an election. That jury went in there, they asked one question. And what was the question? About the meeting at Trump Tower between Pecker and between Cohen. Michael Cohen. Once they, both of them agreed that they had that meeting, Michael Cohen being a liar, all of this went out the window. They went back and came back and was like, 34 counts. And that's what happened.
Even juror number 2.
Even they bought the narrative. And the only thing that I remember is what was the defense's counter narrative? That he didn't sleep with Stormy Daniels? That was a bad counter narrative. Because everybody knows he did it. So for me, it was a win for the Manhattan DA's office and for Alvin Bragg.
Did you see the neck roll, the typical, you know what I mean? This is theater. It's political theater. It's social theater. But did you see, they're really, I don't even know what kind of spell goes on with these Democrats and these Holly weirdos, because they know that they reinforcing every stereotype. They're stoking fires of anger and resentment, and they do it carelessly and maliciously. But yet, they pay thousands and thousands of dollars monthly for personal security, while the rest of the population have to fend for themselves. I'm going to let you see just a little bit more of this.
Who and for the prosecutor,
and for the jurors.
For the jurors. Let's thank them for this.
For the American legal system.
I guess it went on. And I know, you may not agree with me, and it's okay. It's okay not to agree with me. It's okay. But I've lived in this country for almost 60 years. And I've seen disgruntled people go off. I've seen dissatisfied people go off. I've seen innocent people targeted because they look like other people. I've seen what real racism looks like. And what I'm seeing now is a total disregard for the rule of law the feelings of others, and the necessity to have a cohesive republic. I want y'all to just think about what you're doing, and I hope none of these things that have the potential to happens. And I hope that in this country we can be civil and we can gain trust back in the judicial system at some point in time, because it's not there now. But I just want you to think about the things I said. If you disagree with me, that's fine. You know what I mean? You can say that in the comments. Just be respectful. If you don't be respectful, I ain't gonna do nothing but block you. I might say something slick to you, then I just block you. You know. But I just want you to think about what I said, and because I know it has valid, because we've seen and witnessed what I'm talking about. So, signing to you out of Detroit. Salute to all patriots. Keep your head on a swivel for real. Peace. Like, share, and subscribe.